the beginning of the film, a group of 3 hunters was deep in the forest. Their leader, a man named Dale, then ran further into the woods to catch his target, causing him to get separated from his companions. Soon after, a muscular man named Ryan Verrett suddenly appeared and immediately killed Dale. It was revealed that Ryan was an ex-police officer, and his motive for killing Dale was revenge, because Dale had been involved in the brutal slaughter of his family some years earlier. After killing Dale, Ryan traveled to a remote small town named Hope, which was dominated by a ruthless biker gang whose power was so massive that the local sheriff and all the residents were forced to obey them for his next target. Despite this situation in town, Ryan was fearless and determined to continue his mission. After driving for a while, Ryan stopped at a gas station and asked the owner, a man named Kirby, about a place to stay in town. Kirby then told him that there was only one motel in town, and it was located close to his gas station. Since there were rarely any outsiders rarely visited the town, the motel, run by a beautiful young woman named Darcy, was always empty, and when Ryan showed up to book a room, she was confused as to why he would dare to come to Hope, knowing its reputation for being dangerous. Ryan simply replied that he was there on business. Elsewhere, an FBI special agent named Frank and his colleagues were planning a strategy to hunt Dale, who was not only a murderer, but also a rapist. As they were discussing the case, another FBI agent entered the room and informed them that Dale had been found dead. The film then flashes back to Ryan when he was still a police officer. One day, he was celebrating at a party with his family and friends when a group of criminals suddenly arrived and began shooting everyone, including him and his family. The leader of the attackers, a man named Drake, committed the attack because he had a grudge against the police who had previously sent him to prison. He was determined to take revenge by murdering those officers and their entire families, and Ryan was one of his primary targets. Miraculously, Ryan survived the assault despite being shot. Back to the present, Ryan was driving around the town of Hope when he spotted several motorcycles parked in front of a building. A moment later, a biker gang member came out of the building and got mad at a barking dog. He suddenly pulled out his pistol, intending to kill the dog, but Ryan quickly intervened just before the man could pull the trigger. Ryan didn't hesitate to beat the man right here and there. Unfortunately, the commotion caused by Ryan was heard by the gang members inside the building, who then quickly rushed out to see what was happening. The gang leader was among them, and he was none other than Drake. However, Drake seemed to have completely forgotten Ryan's face, given the sheer number of people he had killed, although Ryan had beaten one of his men. Drake decided to let him walk away, saying he had a more important business to deal with. But behind that, he actually felt suspicious of Ryan, so he ordered his younger brother Rex to keep a close eye on the bald man. The next day, Rex met with Drake to inform him that a local club owner had refused to pay them their share. Drake got furious to hear that, and he challenged the owner to a single round of a boxing match, promising that if the man won, he would never have to pay them again. Despite looking old, Drake revealed how strong he was by defeating the large man with ease. In the final moment, he decided to let the man go, realizing he still needed the money, and the man wouldn't be able to provide it if he were dead. Behind that, extortion wasn't the only way Drake and his gang earned money. They also sold meth that they produced at their own lab, and the person responsible for overseeing the meth lab was Rex. In addition to monitoring the lab, Rex was also tasked with watching Ryan. That night, Rex went to Darcy's motel and politely asked if Ryan was staying there. Darcy, however, refused to answer his question, and that caused Rex to threaten her, telling her he would end her if she continued to refuse to reveal Ryan's location. On the other hand, Ryan happened to be at the motel and overheard Rex threatening Darcy, so he intervened by beating Rex.
What are you gonna do with him?
Seeing Rex beaten and thrown around like he was nothing, Darcy quickly warned Ryan that the man he had just beaten was the brother of Drake, the brutal biker gang leader who owned the town, and Drake would certainly take revenge if he knew his brother had been harmed. However, Ryan didn't care at all. Instead of stopping, he dragged Rex to the front of the gang's headquarters, tied him to a car, and then made the car drive straight into the meth lab, causing it to explode and killing Rex. Not long after, Drake and his gang noticed the huge explosion, and they immediately rushed to the destroyed lab. There was nothing they could do except stare sadly at the flames. Drake, however, was utterly devastated. He was absolutely furious after realizing that his beloved brother Rex was dead. Shortly after, the town's sheriff named Cole and one of his deputies arrived at the scene to check on the situation. When Drake saw the sheriff, he approached him and threatened the sheriff not to get on his way to avenge the man who did this to his brother. He promised to wipe out the sheriff's entire family if he did so. Upon hearing that, Cole clearly lacked the courage to defy Drake's words. He decided to let Drake do whatever he wanted and reasoned to his subordinates that by allowing the gang to have their way, they could prevent further bloodshed in the town. The next day, Ryan went into action again. He was seen targeting a truck that was scheduled to transport Drake's gang's meth shipment to another city. He secretly followed the convoy before deflating the truck's tires, forcing the driver to pull over. When the driver got out, Ryan quickly ambushed him and slammed the man's head into the car door. After that, he blew up the truck and left. Ryan's attack was witnessed by another gang member, who immediately informed Drake about it. Drake was so mad upon hearing that because the truck was loaded with a massive amount of meth, he had lost a lot because of Ryan, who had destroyed his lab, and now someone had exploded his shipment. He demanded that the perpetrator of the explosion be found and brought to him alive, and he strongly suspected that the person was Ryan. To prove that Ryan was the culprit, Drake ordered his men to bring Kirby to their headquarters. He then instructed Kirby to help him investigate Ryan's background and discover his true identity. If Ryan was proven guilty, Drake said he wouldn't hesitate to kill him. Out of fear, Kirby reluctantly followed the order. Later that same day, Kirby began his investigation into Ryan. He checked Ryan's car, which was parked near the motel, hoping to find some information about him. However, as he was looking into the car, Ryan suddenly came out of the motel and caught him red-handed. This forced Kirby to stop his investigation immediately. With an awkward smile, he then invited Ryan to have a drink at his house, which was located close to the motel. Ryan, however, wasn't easy to fool, and he knew something fishy was up. When they arrived at Kirby's house, he confronted him, asking why he had been searching his car. Cornered, Kirby finally confessed that Drake had forced him to find out who Ryan really was. Just as Kirby finished speaking, they suddenly heard the sound of a motorcycle pulling up outside the house. It turned out that it was one of Drake's men, a man named Crab, who had come to challenge Ryan for a fight. Despite looking like a tough man, the fight was brief, with Ryan effortlessly beating him. Ryan then let him go. Meanwhile, Drake was doing his own investigation on Ryan by meeting with Sheriff Cole. From their conversation, Drake learned that Ryan was a former cop who quit his job after his family was massacred. Drake then thanked the sheriff for the information and rewarded him with a sum of cash. That night, Drake and his men went to Kirby's house while he was asleep and interrogated him. Drake clearly showed his disappointment that Kirby had failed at a simple task of finding information about Ryan. As punishment for his incompetence, Drake then ordered Crab to kill him. Ryan found out about Kirby's death the next morning, and he quickly realized that Drake's gang was responsible, convinced that no one else in town was capable of such cruelty. Without wasting any time, he then went to one of Drake's hideouts, where he thoroughly beat all of the gang members there. After that, he kidnapped Crab, stuffed him into the trunk of his car before leaving. He then killed him and dumped his body right in front of the gang's headquarters. Drake was enraged to see that his trusted right-hand man had been killed by Ryan. He immediately commanded all of his remaining men to gather and prepare their weapons, as they were going to hunt Ryan. Later that night at the motel, Darcy heard suspicious noises outside, so she quickly grabbed her shotgun ready to shoot anyone who broke in. Ryan, who already suspected the noises were their enemies, showed up and instructed her to take cover behind the reception desk. A moment later, the front door slowly opened, and Drake's men cautiously entered. On the other hand, Ryan waited until they were all close to him, and once he felt they were within his range, he told Darcy to switch off the lights. As the complete darkness engulfed the room for the next few seconds, the sounds of gunshots suddenly erupted, and when Darcy turned the lights back on, she found every single gang member in the room was already dead. Amazingly, Ryan was completely unharmed. Although he had eliminated the gang members, he realized the motel was no longer safe, so he took Darcy and prepared to leave. Unfortunately, he failed to notice that the rest of the enemies were waiting for them nearby. They then ambushed Ryan and beat him until he fell unconscious. Long story short, when Ryan regained consciousness, the first thing he saw was... It turned out that he and Darcy had been taken to the gang's headquarters, which was an abandoned ferry boat. Ryan's hands were tied securely to a chair, preventing him from moving. Drake then told him that he was going to kill him and Darcy, but before finishing them off, he would taste Darcy's body first. After that, he commanded one of his men to torture Ryan while he went to another room. The torture immediately began, with the man beating Ryan so badly, and he clearly enjoyed every moment. But suddenly Ryan managed to break free from the ties, allowing him to fight back. He quickly hit the man until he was unconscious. Then, he began searching for Darcy in every corner of the ship, but instead of finding Darcy, he found more of Drake's men who immediately attacked him. But no matter how hard they fought, Ryan was simply too tough to be taken down. After exploring the ship further, Ryan finally found Darcy, and he quickly freed her from her restraints. They then began searching for a way to escape the boat. But of course, Drake was not about to let them go that easily. Ryan realized they were not going to be free unless he killed Drake. Moreover, it was his goal in the first place. So he told Darcy to leave while he faced the biker boss. Before they began fighting, Drake revealed to Ryan that he did remember him as the former police officer whose family he had massacred before he came to take over Hope. All this time, he had assumed that Ryan was dead. After saying that, the duel between them finally began. They fiercely exchanged blows, but Ryan's attacks proved stronger, and he eventually pinned Drake down. Just as Ryan thought he had won, Drake suddenly grabbed a knife and prepared to stab Ryan from behind. Fortunately, the FBI agent Frank arrived just in time. He shot Drake dead before the gang leader could strike Ryan. Frank then said that he had come to Hope to dismantle Drake's crime, which had been oppressing the townspeople. After everything, he decided not to arrest Ryan, acknowledging that the police still needed figures like him to deal with criminals. And with his mission in Hope complete, Ryan left the town and promised Frank that they would cross paths again someday. At the end of the film, Ryan was seen ambushing a building and gunning down a group of people inside. It turned out these people were the last remaining associates of Rex. They were the ones who had participated in the murder of his family. Now, Ryan had come to kill them all, finally completing his revenge.